Hey, this is Seagrove, and today I'm here with Jens, Joe, and Azul. And as you can see at the top, we're talking about expanded after the bans. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? You've had some changes recently. Jens, why don't you start?
I'm Jimmy Pendarvis. I've been playing since like 2006. When I was a little boy. I started taking it a bit serious in 2010, and I've been playing since then. Try harding my best. I've qualified for every world since 2012, and I'm excited for this year's worlds.
Very cool. Joey, go ahead.
I'm Joe Ruettiger. I'm a first-year master this year. I've done okay. I finished in top 16. Been playing since '09. And yeah.
And Joe, when you became a master, that's when you became Joe, right?
No, towards the end of season.
Oh, okay. Azul, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Azul Garcia-Grego, also finished in the top 16 this season. Been playing since 2010. That's it.
That's it. All right. So I have some questions here for you guys. Instead of doing like a big one where everyone's asking a ton of questions, I just got some of my patrons to ask, and they had some pretty decent questions. So we'll just go through those. And the first one was the guy was just saying, obviously the meta's changing. Is there going to be any big changes in how decks are constructed with these bans? Or decks basically going to be the same, like same support accounts, same items, stuff like that? James, why don't you start?
So I mean, people don't have to be as scared of just playing a bunch of items. Their draw engines can be a bit more trainers based because it gets this being banned. But at the same time, you have Trevenant Break, and you do have Trash Land to worry about still. So I feel like we probably won't see too many changes in how the draw engines are put together. And then in terms of techs, I feel like Sudowoodo will still be around. Maybe Giratina promo will be a bit more popular because of Trevenant Break and Giratina Break being a bit stronger now. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think too much changes. Like, we didn't lose any of like the optimal consistency cards, and like even with Trevenant and Trashlands being around, we still play Via Seeker, we still play Battle Compressor. And we don't play Trainer's Mail anymore, I guess, but that's just kind of just because you don't have the space in the decks as much. There's possible some more turbo decks come out with like heavy Trainer's Mail, heavy Acrobite counts. It's possible there's like decks like that come out now that we don't have like Getsis. Like obviously Archie's Choice is one of them that kind of can thrive off of Trainer's Mail and Acrobike being in the deck. So we'll see stuff like that maybe become more popular. But like the core consistency engines of decks shouldn't change much because no one was really trying to play around. Like up to this point, no one's tried to like cut Via Seekers and stuff except for like Buzzwole decks. But that's just kind of because you don't have space in Buzzwole for stuff like Via Seeker.
Yeah. Joe, anything to add?
Nope.
All right. Joe, do you think if any deck types are going to be viable again, specifically because of Hex?
I don't know. Archie's Choice probably. Because if you see someone open like a Keldeo, you might just like go for the turn one Hex if you have like a Zorua down or something like that. I feel like there's a bunch of different decks, but I think Archie's Choice is the main one. That's probably like a lot more viable now because of Hex. Because like you could just get shut out of the game on turn one because your deck really can't function without Shaman. It can, but you have to like get pretty lucky. Also, Getsis was a big reason to that as well. Yeah.
Do you think Eels, Malamar, Bronzong would make a comeback?
I could. I don't really see too much problem with it, but I think like with the changes in expanded, like Garbo's become more prevalent in the meta, so you're probably gonna see like an increase in those decks, but like it won't be as popular.
Ginger, Azul, any thoughts on Eels, Malamar, Bronzong, or any other deck that might come back with Hex?
I think Bronzong probably has the most potential out of those just because it has resistance to Trash Lance, and then you can play Aegislash, which is pretty sick now. They don't have Hex. But not saying it's going to be broken or anything, but it definitely has way more potential than it did before. And I'm sure there's some other ability decks out there, like Flygon or something, that might see a little bit more play, but I don't think there's anything too broken, but we'll see. Maybe Volcanion. Volcanion definitely got a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything got a lot. Oh yeah, Volcanions at one. I think it definitely got a lot better because it doesn't get shut down as hard by Garb being in play. But like yeah, that's one of the problems. Like I think Garb is just kind of super strong for sure. And you don't even have to play it with Trash Lanch. Like stuff like Buzz Garb and stuff, I think will just be better. So like, just yeah, Ability Lock Garb got better. Trash Lanch Garb got better. So that means even though stuff like Eels and Bronzong and Malamar, they all got better and expanded, they still didn't become tier 1. Which means if the tier 1 decks still beat them, then
Right.
they're going to be in about the same spot overall as far as how good they are. I think they'll be definitely played more. But
Are there any forgotten abilities? Jimmy, are there any forgotten abilities that are going to make a comeback?
I don't really think there's anything too crazy. I think Aegislash is like one of the better ones that was kind of like gone forever and now is being returned into the meta. But I don't think there's anything that's like no one's been talking about or anything. But I certainly don't know a lot about the card pool, so there's probably something. But
Okay.
I don't think there's anything that was in the meta before that's going to be ridiculous now or anything.
Okay. So it seems like Zoroark is sort of pushed out, at least in its current form. What's going to be the most centralizing deck in the meta? Is it going to be Buzzwole, which won Virginia, or is it going to be something else? Joe, what do you think?
I think Garbodor. I think Garbodor is probably going to be the biggest deck. Zoroark definitely got a lot worse with all the bans. And I think that's going to bring Garbodor back in meta. Like, we're also going to get the promo Lele, which is going to be used a lot with like something like Black Ray and like Dimension Valley and things like that. So yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest deck.
Okay. Azul, anything to add?
yeah, it's either going to be Garbodor or Buzzwole, and I'm not as convinced as Joe that it'll be Garb because I still think like Buzzwole up to this point has been able to deal with Garb to the like it can beat it. It's like not an auto loss. You don't sit down against a Trash Lanch and you're like, oh, I lose the game. Why am I like I'm gonna go get lunch, right? It's not that bad of a matchup. It's maybe like 60-40 Trash Lanch favored, maybe a little bit more. So it's not even that bad, and you can like play your deck. You can base your list to be able to beat Garbodor decks as well. So it's gonna be one of those two, I think for sure. I don't think we'll see anything like Archeestoys take over the meta or something like that, which I mean, a lot of people are hyping Archeestoys, but I think it's definitely overhyped. I don't think it's quite as good as people are saying it's going to be.
Yeah.
So yes, it'll be one of those two for sure.
I think Archeestoys is a great deck on its own, but I think it's going to have bad matchups. And I think that maybe Buzzwole or maybe just Buzzwole, Lycanroc is going to be the most popular deck. I feel like people will stay away from Garbodor and Expanded. They definitely, like Drampa Garb never got too popular. But I could see Necrozma and Lele being a bit more popular and a bit stronger against the meta, so we'll see how it turns out.
Yep. Does anyone have any thoughts on Guardy specifically in Expanded?
I'm still not a huge fan of it. Like your Buzzwole matchup is still really rough. It definitely got way better. Guardy did. Deck's not being able to hex you. Even Getsus you is kind of annoying. But yeah, like Zoroark, the Zoroark matchup is actually like close to 50-50 because they can actually just sit there and hex chain you forever. And now that they lose that, you should just be favored against Zoroark decks. I can't imagine you wouldn't be. You also can just play Sudowoodo to counter Zoroark decks. I mean, we'll have to see how Zoroark decks adapt. I think that'll be one of the biggest things is how Zoroark decks adapt to losing Puzzle, losing Hex, losing Getsus, and if they can still be a tier 1 deck.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoroark is still really strong, so I could definitely see Zoroark still just being the top dog in Expanded, or one of the top dogs, probably alongside Buzzwole, and then maybe Garbodor fits in there somewhere. But if the Zoroark decks are built to beat Garb, and they can handle Buzzwole, then I think Garb will fall off a bit. If that's like the top 3, which it potentially could be, and that's what it's been, I think, for the last couple Expanded events. But I think Guardy could get in the mix there somewhere. I mean, the Garb matchups are always weird, and Garb gets a lot of tools, and a lot of the tools, they don't directly like just beat Guardy, but they're better than the tools that Garb currently had to play with. Like the D-Valley build with Necrozma and Lele is definitely better than the Drampa Garb version that was being played. The new version will definitely the D-Valley version is definitely just better against Guardy.
Right.
So the new tools that Garb gets and probably will be playing with is just better against Guardy than what the tools Garb was playing with to be able to keep up with Zoroark. So Guardy's better, but it's not like anything ridiculous. I don't think the deck will be tier 1.
Okay. Any other thoughts to add to that?
I think Azul's victory speech on Gardevoir has got it covered.
Yeah, sounds good. So you mentioned Zoroark there. What do you guys think? We'll start with Joe here. What do you guys think Zoroark is going to replace these, 7 cards that it has to take out with?
I don't know. One of them's definitely going to be, or probably 2 of them are probably going to be special charge, because like you have no way to recover DC now. That the puzzle is your like main way of recovering DC.
Mm-hmm.
And people ran special charge. Like I played against Mark Garcia in top 8 of Salt Lake City, and he ran a special charge. And that was when we still had puzzle in the deck. So we're definitely going to see more special charge. Probably like more rescue stretcher as well. Like there's recovery cards in general, because you lose a lot of recovery that Zoroark had with puzzle.
Jimmy, anything to add?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to play recovery cards like Joe said, stretcher and 1 or 2 special charge. You're definitely gonna have to play Muck or some way to shut off Sudowoodo, because I think that if you're without Hex, you're just gonna lose to Sudowoodo. I think if you're 2-shotting, it's just not gonna be good. So I think Muck or Garbodor or something like that.
Okay. Azul, if you want to add anything to that, if not, what does Dork State's own deck, or does it go back to being partnered with something else?
I think I think Zoro Garb will be the first place to look at what it should be partnered with, and then it's whether with or with not Trash Lance. Like I did a best of 9 and expanded with Pablo with the new bands, and I played Zoro Garb. I played a Zoro Garb deck with Klefki. Clunkier than I thought it would be, but yeah, I think Zoro Garb is the first place to look at a partner for Zoroark, and then it's whether or not you want to play Trash Lance in there. If you can fit and play Trash Lance in there as well, you could start looking at Lycanroc and Golisopod again, I guess. You definitely have to play Muck if you do that, though, because Sudowoodo is just kind of has a stranglehold over your bench. And will probably be played.
Okay. Jimmy, what do you think about a partner for Zoroark?
I definitely think you have to play some sort of way to get around Sudowoodo, so I think that playing Lycanroc or Golisopod is kind of unrealistic, because then you're playing Zoroark, the Golisopod, or the Lycanroc, and Muck, and you've got to play all these recovery cards now too, so your deck's going to be tight and probably a bit more inconsistent, so I think it's going to be either Zoroark Garbodor or Zoroark Muck. You can play Tex, like maybe a Ranger or something, but I think playing another line of attacker like that isn't going to work out. And I also don't think that Trash Lance is going to... I don't think you're going to have room for Trash Lance or Psychic Energy in the deck, but it's possible.
Joe, any other partners you're thinking of, or thoughts on like a Towards list in this and expanded?
I don't know. Disruption Zord could be cool. I don't know. It might just get run over by things like Buzzwool and Argisoice if it becomes relevant in the meta. And also, like, still is like not that great of a time dealing with Trash Lance, so I don't think Zord Disruption's that good. I think Ginge covered mostly all the guard decks, or all the Zord partners.
Okay. So I thought these were some interesting questions. Do you think the bans were enough? Or are they too much? Or are there any issues that the bans create that people aren't thinking of? And then one more to add to these. Is there any chance of these cards being unbanned at some point? So let's focus on the ban questions. Were they enough? Were they too much? Is there a chance of them being undone or repealed? Jimmy, why don't you start?
I think the bans were good. I think they really evened out the format, and they got rid of some nonsense cards. Getsis was absolute cheese and lost a lot of people games before they even got to draw cards. Hex was essentially the same thing. You could just sit there, Hex, haha, you lost. Like,
and Wally.
Yeah, and Wally too. It's like, Wally, oh, here's my Trevenant, and you lose. So, I don't know. I still wish Trevenant would have just gone out with them so we could have gotten rid of all the crap, but I think getting rid of Wally is a good first step, and I think there's no chance that these cards ever get unbanned. Like,
what did you want to go out with them?
Just get rid of Trevenant while we're at it.
No, it's not necessary. Wally is like the only reason I don't think I've ever lost a Trevenant in tournament, but if I have, it's just because they got turn 1 Wally. Like,
oh, you lost to Bob.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Trevenant.
Dream killer.
Joe, any thoughts on the bans?
Yeah, they were fine. They removed a lot of the toxic cards that were like really plague and expanded. Just like by turn 1 losing, it's kind of ridiculous. Turn 1 losing to a trainer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, it's a supporter.
Azul, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I like them initially because all I wanted to do was I wouldn't care if they had like gone, okay, we're gonna ban Lycanroc, we're gonna ban Zork, we're gonna ban Puzzle Time, and we're gonna ban Wailord. Like I just wanted them to ban something, so I don't like really care what they ban as long as they ban more than one card, and some relevant, and as long as the cards are like relevant in what had happened in the last couple of metas. And I'm sure if there's anything wrong with these bans and it exposed anything that's broken, the X-Files will let us know at the first expanded event. So, yeah.
It's true. Okay, and the other question that I sort of threw in there, but I want to go back to, are there any issues that are going to come up from these bans? I guess you sort of just touched on that. We'll just let the X-Files figure it out. Are there any issues that are going to come up from these bans that people aren't thinking about? Like I know, Jimmy, you've mentioned Agislash a few times.
I don't think Agislash is a problem. I think it's just something that could come into the meta now. Like, it's not going to be ridiculous or anything. And there's definitely going to be ways to get around it. If anything is ridiculous, I'm not thinking about it. So I hope there's not anything ridiculous. But I don't see any huge problems from the bans now.
Okay. Joe.
Yeah, I as well don't think there's any big problems, especially with like cards like Agislash and Zerkashire. There's a bunch of cards to get around them, like Garbodor, Silent Lab, just cards like those. So like, my number should probably run like one Silent Lab, just like Joltik and like kill the Agislash or Zerkashire.
Another specific deck question. What do you guys think about Turbo Dark? It obviously gets a huge buff here, but Buzzwole is pretty strong. Does it have a chance in the meta now?
Yeah, I don't think so. You didn't beat Buzzwole or Trashalanche before. You could build your deck to be able to deal with Trashalanche, but probably not. Only close enough to maybe get it 50-50, maybe. You can't deal with Buzzwole at all. They can like one-shot you with a Jet Punch, right? Like if they get the strong choice, Diancie, yeah, they one-shot you with a Jet Punch. And then your Zoroark matchup is still like if Zoroark finds a consistent workaround to Sudowoodo, they also one-shot you with Skyfield. Like, yeah, Turbo Dark's gonna have to take a backseat for a while. Long time.
Okay. I was thinking maybe if Sudowoodo starts to be played a little bit less, that you could come in and play like Baby Muse to one-shot the Buzzwoles, but maybe not.
Yeah. You still like lose 2 energy on the Baby Mewtwo, like.
Yeah. So does Zoroark immediately drop out of top tier?
I don't think that's necessarily the case. It's got a lot of room to still be solid. It was just absolutely ridiculous before. You could basically do whatever you wanted every single turn. So I'd be really surprised if it was like bad. I could see it being like tier 2, but I think it'll be around.
Yeah, I actually think it'll still be tier 1. I just got to wait for the right variant of it to emerge to be the best. Like you get so much access and you have so much utility, and the deck has like actually just has like a lot of space to kind of, like I said, but like I mean, I feel like now you have to kind of pick an avenue, like the Muck, the Garb, whatever, and it'll be hard to fit both of those and like a Glossopod or a Zoroark. But you could like ditch the Skyfield. You could like ditch Skyfield and then go for like a Muck, Glossopod, Zoroark build or something like that, and just not play Skyfield. Kind of.
And what's the point of the Muck?
Yeah. If you're not playing
I guess you wouldn't need Muck then, yeah. You could just go back to like Zoroark, Glossopod. Don't worry about Muck. You could go back to Zoroark, Glossopod, Zoroark, Lycanroc, and then not play Skyfields, and then you don't need Muck. And like I don't see why that couldn't be good still. Yeah, you wouldn't need Muck. You're right. I overthought myself there.
Does the loss of Wally hurt Trev enough to take it out of a top tier spot?
It was never top tier to begin with.
Haters
so.
Hate.
The deck is. I mean, I think Trevenant's terrible because I think there's just so much room to outplay it. But I think it's still fine. I don't think much changes from where it was at Virginia. You just don't get to cheese people now. So you lose your overall win percentage just drops, and you weren't a good deck to begin with. So now you're just like, why would you play Trevenant? Like you can't cheese people even now. Like I just don't see the point in playing Trevenant anymore.
Busted. They're 2 in top 8.
Not Trevenant fan.
All right.
I know there were 2.
Joe,
I don't think the deck is terrible, but like once you start playing against top tier players, the deck loses a lot of like the item locking is way stronger when people don't know what they're doing against it. Obviously, so once you play against a top tier player, the the effectiveness of the deck like is halved. Like the deck becomes so much worse once you play against a player who knows how to play around the item locking, the spread damage, like everything at the same time. It just the deck is just no longer as effective as it was.
I think I can actually speak to this a bit. I'm actually worried about the Buzzwole matchup for Trevenant.
Yeah, like exactly. I don't think the Buzzwole matchup is that good for Trevenant.
It was fine. It was good. It was favorable. Solidly like 65-35, I would say, before when we had Wally. But without Wally, like, sometimes they just get 3 energies down turn 1. And it's like, what are you going to do? So, anyway. Okay, let's go on. Unless anybody else wants to think about Trev.
I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as Azul thinks it is. Because he's like still the spread potential, plus like the boost of Baby Lele is like gonna help a lot. Because like you can spread and then like take 6 prizes in 1 turn potentially. But I definitely as well don't think it's like tier 1. But everyone, and like I saw a bunch of Facebook posts being like, "Oh, Trev is dead now." Like Azul said, you just can't cheese people. Wally just really didn't do that much.
Yeah, I agree. What about are Drampa Garb and Espeon Garb even going to make a larger meta share? I think we talked about Necrozma Garb some.
I think Necrozma Garb and Drampa Garb both have a lot of potential. I think Espeon Garb, like, why would you ever play that over the other options? I don't think Espeon Garb will be coming back anytime soon. Sorry, Xander.
Yeah, I agree too. Unless Buzzwole is that good, that would have to be the only case, I guess. But even then, there's probably better. Actually, Dimension Valley Attackers is probably better than Espeon, right? Buzzwole.
Tool drop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It would have to be a really weird meta where Espeon would be like a Toad heavy meta, maybe, where Espeon would be better than like Toad would have to be tier 1 by far, and then Espeon Garb would maybe have a chance.
Drampa slaughters Toad, bro.
I know that's true too. So like I don't know.
What
they
does?
have the answer to Drampa.
Drampa.
Oh, yeah,
just Righteous Edge. Maybe it's like Gallade Toad or something. So Drampa is too risky. I don't know. Yeah, Espeon Garb is on the back burner for sure.
Ross is on it. Forces to play Espeon Garb.
It's coming, boys. Buzzwole is going to see more or less success because Zoroark is obviously taking a hit. Garb is getting better. What do you think? Joe, start.
I don't know. I think it's gonna stay in the same place. I think it's gonna be in tier 1 somewhere. I just don't know where it's gonna land. We'll have to see like how people are building their Buzzwole variants and like how people build other variants. Because like Buzzwole just really depends on like how other people are building their decks. Because like you could build like heavy Lightning Rock or just like go all in on turn 1 or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot will depend on. I don't think it'll have the same showing that it did at Roanoke. At least, especially not for the first event, because I think there'll be a lot of Garb hype. But if Garb just isn't as good in the meta as it currently seems like it's going to be, then Buzzwole could have its moment down the line in the season. But for the first event specifically, like I don't think it'll have even close to this amount of success it had at Roanoke. I wouldn't be like surprised if it won the event, but like what's it like 4 in the top 8, and then there was a ton in day 2. Like not quite that much success for sure.
Right. Jimmy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Buzzwole before was a good deck with good matchups, so now it's just going to be a good deck, and we're going to have to see how its matchups are. Like Azul said, Garbodor is probably pretty good against it, but we still need to test that and see how Buzzwole can adapt, and then see what other decks are played.
All right. So any old decks that were sort of dead that are going to be revived, specifically Vespiquen, Night March, any of those going to make a comeback? Jimmy, what do you think?
I think Vespiquen and Night March will both have a horrendous time navigating the Garbodor decks now that Puzzle is gone. And they weren't even that good against it before. They were actually pretty bad still. And I think things just got a lot worse for them. So I think Vespiquen is definitely just needs to stay dead. And then Night March has like a little bit of potential, but without Puzzle, it's going to struggle. It won't be able to beat its bad matchups as often as it could before, especially with tools like Hex and Gets This Gone, where you can kind of cheese them out of the game.
Okay. Sad. Oh.
So finally my webcam died. Somehow being used by another application that doesn't exist. But
Joe, what do you think?
I never thought they were that good before. We just like saw a lot of success like beginning of the season because people were really weren't running like heavy Garb decks that we saw like the first event, like Fort Wayne. The Garb decks became more relevant around Daytona. Like I played Night March Daytona, and I just got like destroyed once I got to day 2 because everyone was playing Oricorio of Double Stretcher, which is very hard to beat with Night March. And I think now since like they lose puzzle, you can't even like do that much with the deck. Like you're after like at least 2 special charges. You need to run away to counter Aegislash or Circuitry, because like you don't have Hex
Bronzong.
anymore. You could, I guess, you could run Bronzongs and Metals.
Oh, that's spicy.
That's an old school.
Yeah, that's
bro.
how that was like
Bronzong Night
the big
March.
deck when I started playing.
Yeah, in 2016. And then, yeah, I think if you lose the Oricorio or like any deck that can like trade 1 prize attackers, or even like Garbotoxin, I think that really hurts you.
Okay. Azul, what do you think about Volcanion?
They got way better. One thing I want to make a comment on Night March and Vesper Queen: if people sleep on them and don't play Oricorio, don't play Karen, then they could. I would be surprised if one of them didn't have a super strong showing, even if it's only by one person, like winning an event at some point this year. I think at some point people are just going to sleep on them and not play Oricorio, not play Karen, and they'll come back.
As Pram says, Night March wins 1 tournament per year. It has a
Yeah.
year-long cooldown.
Yeah, so it's coming up. It's coming up.
Oh, he's eating up right now.
Jaltic's getting ready, dude. Taking a long nap. Volcanion, it got way better for sure. Garb decks are still a problem for it. So once again, a lot of it will come down for Garb decks. I think. So Buzz in standard, Volcanion has always had a hard time against Buzzwolves actually. I'm not sure if it is the same in Expanded, because you can be a lot more aggressive in Expanded with Volcanion. Actually, like ridiculous. You get so many tools in Expanded for Volcanion. It's insane. But like Hex has always kept it down. Garb keeps it down. So its Garb matchup is one thing to look at. The next thing is just if it can handle Buzzwole in Expanded, because it really can't in Standard, and that's one of the reasons Volcanion just isn't played in Standard.
But Blacksmith.
So, but it gets, you get Blacksmith, you have superior energy retrieval. Like you have so many tools, it's actually insane for Volcanion. So I'd really like to see it be a top tier deck, maybe tier 1.5, tier 1. I think it has the tools. It's just the Garb matchup's just bad, so it just comes down to the Buzzwole matchup. Really, if it can handle Buzzwole, it could definitely get up there.
Okay. This is a question about actually like what people are going to be playing. Do you all expect to see, since Hex is going out, do you expect to see a lot of Garbotoxin decks being played? Do you think that the number of Garbotoxin decks will increase because of the Hex ban? Zul, what do you think?
Oh.
I gotcha. Yeah, yes for me too. Yeah, there's
Okay.
no that or some other kind of like Muck is another thing, but like Garb. I mean specifically Garb, yes, but like ability control in general from other means, yes, for sure overall.
Okay, Joe.
I could see like Garbotoxin being more popular, but I feel like Trash Lance is just, I don't know. I feel like people always try to avoid playing Trash Lance and Expanded. Maybe it's just me. I love Trash Lance, so don't get the idea that I don't. But we'll see how it's going. As for me, but I think that I'm not sold on people playing Trash Lance, I guess is all I'm gonna say.
You'll see him say ability lock Garb though.
Yeah. I think Garbotoxin will be more popular. I don't know about Trash Lance yet. I could see Zorak Garbodor being super popular, but I couldn't see. I'm not fully sold on Trash Lance.
The Lange.
All right, Joe, it's your turn.
Yeah, the Garbotoxin variants will definitely increase without the Hex ban. That's about all.
All right, thanks. Cool. If you had an expanded tournament right now, what do you think the top 3 decks would be? I don't know why I needed to say that you have an expanded tournament, but what do you think of the top 3 decks in expanded? Joe, never mind, Azul, go ahead.
D Valley Garb, or Buzzrock. D Valley Garb, Buzzrock. And Zorak, like I think it's probably just those 3. I'm unsure about it's either Drampa Garb or D Valley Garb will be tier 1, and the other one will probably be tier 2. But I think it'll probably be D Valley Garb to be the tier 1 spot.
Okay. Jimmy.
So I'd say the best 3 decks would be like Buzzrock, Drampa Garb, Necrozma Garb, and then my favorite 3 would probably be Drampa Garb, Necrozma Garb, Sableye Garb.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. No, I'm just kidding. Joe, go ahead. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, I agree with Azul. Those are probably gonna be a top 3.
Okay.
My top.
I'm sorry I ruined it for you, Joe. All right.
Garbs are strong.
Let's do any shout outs you guys might have or might not have, I guess. I don't know. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, shout out to Six Prizes. I read articles for them. I'm going to have one coming out tomorrow. Well, if you're watching this on the 1st, it will be out today.
It'll have come out already.
Okay, well, go read my article then. And then I also coach for the Dark Patch. I'm way better than Joe and Azul at coaching, so just ignore their presence on the site and book me instead. And that's it.
Joe, go ahead.
I coach for the Dark Patch at thedarkpatch.com. Also to mention, I am $7 cheaper than Ginge and Azul.
Busted price.
And I sometimes stream on Twitch at Joey Ruettiger. You can follow me on Twitter too, at Joey Ruettiger. That's it.
Yeah, when are you going to dust off Twitch?
Azul.
I also do coaching through the Dark Patch. You guys already know where to find that, though. I do stream on Twitch. Looking to try and do daily or as close to that as I can. Sometimes I take a weekend off or so. Leading up to Worlds, twitch.tv/AzulGG. Check out my Twitter, Azul_GG. And shout out to Seagrove for having us on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the time. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and peace out. Shout out to my Ultra Ball patrons, Sarah Beckwith, John Gilliman, Paul Semenko, and Brian C. And huge shout out to my Master Ball patrons, Pokestats, Impulse Gaming, Jeremy Owings, Caleb Vance, and Dan Nelson. And congrats, Dan Nelson, again for winning the last drawing. Shout out to all of my patrons, and of course, to my viewers and subscribers like yourself. Thank you.